Will there be pets in heaven? Are we in the end times? What are true believers supposed to do with spiritual happiness, and how would you grow in this
Jesus
area?
proclaimed it.
Hello, and welcome back to Now That'll Preach. My name is Jared Crowley. I'm your host, sitting across from the lead pastor of Church of the Harvest, the one and only David Freck. And if you're new to That'll Preach, this is your first time watching, basically the idea is we take your comments, your questions, your topics that you send in to us, and we throw them at this guy with no preparation whatsoever, just off the cuff freestyling. And yeah, basically the idea is that, you know, we view it as a resource. It's not like an entertainment program that we put on. It's really designed to help you kind of answer the questions that you have as you grow in your relationship with Jesus. And so far, it's helped me quite a bit grow in my relationship.
Awesome.
So if I'm the one behind the camera and it's doing good for me, I'm sure it's doing good for you guys. So
Good. Oh, that's good to hear.
yeah. All right, you ready to get into it?
Absolutely.
Okay. Can God be disappointed?
Oh, yeah, sure. I give you multiple instances in my life alone. Yeah, well, the Bible talks about it. You know, one of the great examples is Jesus with Lazarus and Mary and Martha, and you know how he grieves and groaned in his spirit at their mourning, and he was greatly distressed or troubled, the Bible talks about.
Yeah.
And it was related to their unbelief. And we've seen it with the disciples when he multiple times says, you know, how long must I be with you? Oh, you of little faith. You know, so is he communicating a disappointment? In other words, he sets an expectation and we don't meet it. Now, I want to go a little deeper with that. So what happens is, all right, if God knows everything, then why would anything disappoint him?
That's the follow-up for sure.
Right. Yeah. So from the perspective of, because he is omniscient and he does know everything, how can he be disappointed?
Yeah.
From that context, no, he's not disappointed. But he communicates disappointment as a point of motivating us to meet expectations. So while he is not disappointed in the sense of, hey, I had this expectation of you and I just thought you could do it and you couldn't.
Yeah, right.
Okay, well, he knows,
Yeah.
so therefore he can't, therefore it's not a thing.
For sure.
Based on our natural prisms of understanding disappointment. But as it relates to communicating that disappointment as a nudge of motivation to get us to go. So he will, even though he's not quote unquote disappointed in the truest sense of the word, he communicates that disappointment so it would motivate us to do the things that would approach or find his approval.
Sure. Yeah.
So he does release, and the Bible is filled with it.
Yeah.
You just, it's everywhere in the scriptures. You know, God was disappointed with Jacob. God was disappointed with Abraham. God was disappointed with David. God, you know, and it's talked about. He was I mean, how many times did he say, "I'm done with you, Israelites. I'm You know, I'm going to cut you off, and I'm going to start over with you, Moses."
Right.
You know, so these are communications of disappointment.
Sure. Yeah.
And so, scripturally, absolutely, there's no question.
Yeah.
He communicates disappointment. Is he disappointed?
Yeah.
In the truest sense of the word, probably not.
Right.
But in the reality of how do I motivate humanity and how do I motivate those that love me and are trying to grow to know me, how do I, well, so we do it as parents, right? We communicate a disappointment.
Sure.
Hey, I have but it's based on a real expectation, and they don't meet that expectation.
Right.
So we can use that disappointment to punish, or we can use that disappointment to motivate.
Sure. Right.
So God's purpose
in
communicating disappointment is to motivate, not to punish.
Yeah. That's super interesting. So do you think there are other things that God does where it's like, it's not necessarily he's literally feeling this way or literally is this way, but he's communicating things that way so that we have an understanding of what we're doing?
Yeah, I mean, he's got, he's perfection. So, yes, I think that the ascribing of human emotion to God is, well, we have that because we're made in the image of God.
Right.
So these are real attributes that God carries,
Sure.
and that God releases and reveals.
Yeah.
But he's beyond humanity. He's beyond limited knowledge.
Yeah.
He's beyond, limited understanding.
Right,
He has
right.
complete understanding, complete knowledge, complete wisdom, complete foresight, complete.
Yeah.
So therefore, his frame of reference is we can't even comprehend it.
Definitely. Yeah.
So then how does that relate to us in
Yeah.
a way? So how do I relate to a God that is suspended
Right.
above all of these things, right?
Yeah.
So he becomes unrelatable
For sure.
to me.
Right.
If he's just above it all,
Yeah.
nothing I could ever do would ever disappoint him.
Yeah.
Well, then what motivates me?
Yeah. Yeah. Sure.
I want my parents to approve of me.
Yeah.
I want my friends to approve of me because I have this need of approval and acceptance. Now, God says, I'll never leave you. I'll never forsake you. I'm accepting you.
Right.
I'm letting you know you're safe with me.
Yeah.
I'm not going to abandon you because you disappoint me
Right.
or because you fall short of my
Right.
expectations.
Yeah.
But that doesn't mean that I don't have expectations for you. That doesn't mean I don't want to motivate you to achieve those things.
Sure.
And I'm going to move and work inside your life through mechanisms, and we'll call it conviction.
Yeah. Right.
That are going to say, wow, I really blew it here. And do I use that as a reason never to do it again, or does God work through conviction to motivate me to do it
Sure. Right.
better next time?
Yeah. Yeah.
And so that's where God's a good father.
Yeah.
Right?
Definitely.
And so, in answer to your question, I guess,
Yeah.
I don't think he feigns it. I don't think it's like he's putting on.
Sure.
I think it's authentic, but it just is coming from a different motivation than our disappointment
Sure.
would come from.
Yeah.
It's got an entirely different orientation than yours and mine as humans
Sure.
would have. Like,
Yeah.
for instance, you could, produce something, and I'd look at that and
Yeah, yeah.
say,
It didn't meet
yeah,
the
okay,
mark.
it was okay,
Yeah,
Jared,
yeah.
but
Right.
yeah, you could do better.
Yeah. Yeah. Right.
Come on, step it up.
Right,
Right.
right.
And you could say, well, he hates my work and he hates me, and
Yeah.
and that's not true.
Right.
But I know you can do better.
Yeah.
And so I expect you. I'm trying to motivate you by a sense of this.
Yeah.
It's not great.
Right. Right.
Come on, you can do better.
Yeah.
And then hopefully, if I do that, handle that right.
Yeah.
It elevates you.
Yeah. Yeah.
Right?
Yeah.
So that's just a kind of a broad
Sure.
attempt at trying to communicate the
Yeah.
difference.
Yeah.
But and I think that's God's motivation.
Yeah.
Some kind of rough sense,
Sure.
but it's even purer than that. It's
Yeah.
even better
Definitely.
Than that. So
Right.
yeah, God. So my quick answer to that, yes, God can be disappointed.
Yeah.
My long answer to that is, it's a different kind of disappointment
Yeah.
than we understand
Sure.
it to be.
Sure. And I think
it's
even the
motivating, comes from a
consequences,
different
there are consequences to human disappointment.
Oh, absolutely.
Like that affect relationship and affect like how you treat that person and how you guys are. And I don't think maybe maybe consequence is a good word to like explain the difference between what God feels, because I don't know if they're the same consequences for disappointment necessarily.
Yeah.
Like when you're talking about God, like he's never going to leave you or forsake. Like you can be disappointed with someone to an extent where it's like, okay, I'm not.
Yeah, I'm done. I'm not doing that anymore. Yeah.
Right.
And there's actually a couple moments where God says that.
Really? Wow.
Yeah, in the scriptures, there's a couple moments where he says, I won't strive with you anymore.
Wow. Yeah.
Well, that's a pretty profound expression of disappointment.
Yeah. Sure. Right.
And so there's a couple instances where he says, I'm going to leave you to yourself. You keep doing this.
Yeah.
I keep trying to lovingly nudge you and guide you. You keep rejecting it. And so in Proverbs, as an example, it says, he who being often reproved hardens his heart and stiffens his neck shall be destroyed suddenly, and that without a remedy. So there's this idea that we can keep kind of rebuffing God's convictions in our life. We can rebuff that to the point where God says, okay, I am going to let you experience the full consequences
Sure. Yeah.
of your rejection of me.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's ultimately what hell is.
Yeah. Yeah.
It's not that God sent us to hell. It's that we literally rebuffed everything he did.
Yeah.
We did not accept any element of what he did to bring us into relationship with him.
Yeah.
And the consequence of that
Yeah.
isn't like mean old God.
Right.
It's no, I've provided, good God
Yeah.
has provided a way of escape, and you just wanted it your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
And
Yeah.
this is the consequence for your choice.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so this is the challenge of will in the context of our theology.
For sure.
It's
Yeah.
the challenge of will. And God created us with it.
Right,
And that's
right.
what makes us like him.
Yeah.
So this is the element that is so critical to so much of how God interacts with us.
Yeah.
And so I really, you absolutely hit it on the head when you talked about the consequent results of rejecting or not responding to God's nudges.
Yeah.
And so we'll call disappointment conviction
Yeah.
in our modern context.
Right.
But there's just no way you can read the Bible and not see it if you're
Yeah.
honest about how you read it.
Wow.
And you
Yeah.
see his interactions with people.
Sure.
And
Yeah,
you
yeah.
see, wow,
Yeah.
you know,
Yeah.
I'm done with you. I won't chide with you anymore. I won't, you know.
Yeah.
You've reached the place where, okay, all right, you have it your way.
Yeah. Yeah.
You
Wow.
know?
Yeah.
And you know, I've done that with, you know, my children. I've done it with people. I said, okay, I've tried to tell you, I've tried to show you, I've tried to train you, I've tried to guide you. You keep doing this.
Yeah.
Okay, I'm not gonna rescue on this. I'm not gonna rescue you on
Yeah,
this one.
for sure.
You're gonna get to pay the piper on this one.
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
There's no buffer. So good luck.
Yeah. Yeah.
You know.
Right.
It's a little cavalier, but that
Sure.
that happens.
Yeah,
and
yeah,
I
yeah.
think God does that.
Yeah. Yeah.
And so if you read Romans 1, you'll see that progression of give-ups. They call them the give-ups of God. For this reason, God gave them up. For this reason, God gave them up. For this reason, God gave them up. In other words, he just let them do what they were wanting to do anyhow.
Right.
He
Right.
quit putting he took the restraints away of conscience and conviction.
Yeah. Yeah.
He let those just go away.
Wow.
And he quit striving with you about this
Yeah.
because you were so determined to go there.
Yeah.
There's consequences to that.
Yeah. For sure.
So.
For sure. Yeah.
Now let's avoid those if at all
Yeah,
possible.
yeah, definitely. Yeah. No, it's a really interesting question. I think regardless of like whether your answer is yes or no, I think all of us have a hard time wrapping our head around that question. You know what I mean? And that idea of God being disappointed and stuff. So I think that's a very scripturally based, very practical answer to that question. And
Yeah,
so,
no, it is. And like I said, the deeper theological frame for that is a little different than just the cursory
Sure.
surface answer for
Yeah,
it.
yeah.
But both apply.
Yeah, definitely.
Absolutely.
Definitely. Yeah. Well, appreciate you, man. Appreciate your insight. Appreciate your perspective.
Absolutely.
We appreciate you guys. Thank you for watching. Like I said, we view it as a resource. So liking, sharing, subscribing, all those things really help get it out there. And even just the personal one-on-one, you know, hey, I know you've been struggling with this lately, or hey, I know you've had this question.
Yeah, I
Here's a
really want to
resource I found.
encourage people to keep sending questions in.
For
'Cause
sure.
I know we
Yeah,
don't
yeah.
always ask for them.
Yep.
I don't know what our stockpile is because I'm not
Yeah.
privy to any of that. I hear these questions for the first time when he
Yes.
asks them on camera.
Yep.
And so I do encourage you, keep the questions coming. If
Yeah.
you got something that kind of hits you and you're like, I don't really get that. It might even be about a sermon I just preached or
Yeah.
whatever.
Yeah.
Let us forward it, and we'd love to see it and hopefully respond to it in a
Yeah.
timely manner. It'd be our
sure.
it'd be our pleasure.
For sure. Yeah. All right, man. Well, knocked it out of the park, killed it. We'll see you guys next week.
All right.
That'll preach.
That'll preach.